Joining me today is Jeff Weisbein. Jeff is the founder of BestTechie, which he actually started when he was just 13 years old. He built BestTechie into a digital media company where he led a team to create content and interview various executives for stories. His goal with BestTechie is to simplify technology and understand the advances around us so we can make more informed and confidential decisions. He also founded KYA, an audience insights platform to help publishers better understand and track their audience. Thank you for being here today, Jeff.
Thanks, John. Sorry, my intro is such a mouthful.
Well, I mean, it sounds great, right? Like, I'm very curious to find out a little bit more about, your journey, because at 13 years old, I was out there playing sports, running after girls, whatever.
Well, don't get me wrong, I was doing that too.
But yeah, so tell me, I know, I just want to get right into it and find out, so tell me a little bit about what do people know you by today, and how did you get started in this whole digital world?
Yeah, so I'm gonna start with how I got started, and we'll work our way to how people know me today. So as you alluded to, when I was 13, I convinced my parents to let me borrow their credit card, use their credit card to buy a domain and some web hosting services so I could start a website. And I bought it's crazy story. So I bought this domain, BestTechy.net, and the .com was available at the time too. But 13-year-old me thought, well, the .net sounds cooler for some reason. I don't know why. Just in my head, it sounds cooler. I'm gonna go with that. So that's what I ended up buying, and I bought the .net, and I built a site on it. And really, what ended up happening was, I wanted a place to share my insights, things that I was learning, like in real time, because I was learning a ton about technology. I was helping people out on different websites and forums, helping them figure out how to fix computer problems and things like that. And keep in mind, this was in 2003. This was well before Facebook existed, before MySpace existed, before many of the global internet giants that we know today existed. And this was also like blogging wasn't really a thing yet. It was like an inkling of a thing. It was like just getting started. And there was a service at the time which was acquired by Google called Blogger.
Yeah.
And I had been using that for a while, but I really wanted to have my own website. So I bought this domain and I started posting there. And basically, as I got older each year, obviously, as most people do, I just started turning it more into a business because I saw different opportunities kind of arise. So, for example, about a year into running the website, I started the website in May, a little over a year actually. I started the website in May 2003, and then in August of 2004, there was the first kind of opportunity that I saw, aside from just kind of posting on my own little things about technology. I saw this opportunity to get more people to come to the website, right? So the reason why that was is because there was a channel on TV, and when I lived at home and when I was younger, my TV was literally glued to this channel. To this day, I remember that the channel number was 175, and that channel was Tech TV. And I don't know if John, have you ever heard of Tech TV?
No.
Okay,
no.
so all right, so it was it was actually a cable channel that was started actually by Paul Allen, the late Paul Allen, one of the obviously co-founders of Microsoft, and he wanted to bring a technology channel to TV, so he started this network. And long story short, he sold it, and there were changes happening, and they decided that they were going to shut down the site. And on the site, I had developed a kind of a reputation as someone who knew what they were talking about, someone who could help people fix their computer problems and things like that. Now, the funniest part about all this is I was 14 at the time, and nobody knew I was 14. because you're typing, you're behind a computer screen. This wasn't like, there was no uploads of pictures and like sharing your life on Facebook, and like there was none of that existed. So no one knew that I was 14 years old. They just thought I was some 30, 40-year-old guy, whatever. So when they decided to shut down the site, I was like, well, let me start my own forums. Let me start a place where people can come, ask questions, get help. And that was kind of like the first, I think, like, I like to say, like, the first, like, time I really had this, like, inkling of kind of, like, business sense. Like, this is an opportunity to take advantage of type of thing. And that's kind of how I got started. So once the forums launched in August of 2004, this is so long ago. I'm still in the 24,
Yeah.
So once we started that, it just kind of ramped up from there pretty quickly. I was 14, but I was thinking about ways to start, eventually to start monetizing the site, ways to get more people to come to it, to get more members and things like that. I was obsessed with this idea of like building a community, and I still to this day love building communities. So it's just something I guess I naturally just like to do. But that's how I got started. And then what people know me for today is in terms of like is BestTechie. So BestTechie is still around. I'm still operating it now on an everyday basis. In fact, I just I guess we'll talk about Kaya in a little bit, but I shut down Kaya at the end of 2017, and I was unsure of what I wanted to do. It was really like, well, I could go work somewhere else, maybe at a startup in the city. I'm in New York City, and there's plenty of startups here, and I could do that. Or maybe I could, start something new, or maybe I'll just work on BestTechie more, because BestTechie was still doing relatively well, considering I hadn't really paid attention to it for about 4 years while I was working on Kaya. And basically, I was like, I don't know, let me take some time. I started applying places, doing a number of interviews. Nothing really panned out, but ultimately I was like, you know what, while I was doing all that, I was still working on BestTechie again, because I needed something to do. I'm one of those people who's like, just cannot sit still and do nothing. That's like not me at all. So I'm always trying to keep busy and do new things. And essentially, it's funny because like I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I wanted to work on BestTechie because I love it. I just love working on the site, and and I just enjoy it. But at the same time, I wanted to also further my skill set even more, because Kaya was an analytics company, and so one of the things I was doing when I was on LinkedIn of all places, obviously looking for different roles that were open, I saw this ad for Harvard had started this new program called the Business Analytics Program, and I decided to apply for this program, and basically, long story short, I got in, which was really cool. And then I just graduated from the program at the end of September. It was a 9-month program, started in January of this year, and I went and I just graduated. So now I have a ton of free time again, and I'm back working on BestTechie. And I decided that I'm going to be working on this full time now going forward. So I'm really excited about where I'm at right now, and I'm thrilled that when you guys reached out when you did to do this podcast. I thought it would be great to come on and talk to you about all this stuff.
No, that's amazing. I mean, the journey itself, right? So how did it, like, has it evolved? Because it's been like 15 plus years, right? Of you
Yeah.
owning the site. So how did you get users to actually contribute content, or how did you get engagement and an audience? And from there, how do you continue monetizing?
Yeah, so those are some great questions. So early on, as I mentioned, the initial kind of influx of users came from just my reputation. Kind of people knew me as a person who knew about technology, so that was good enough to get the initial kind of bunch of people onto the site, right? But then from there, it's like, all right, now what? What can we do to further get more users, get more people on the site, get them contributing? And the way that I found that's best to do that is to, especially when you're building something like a community, like a forum, you as the leader of this community, if you know that you're building, have to set the tone from the top down, right? So the way that works is, you as a person need to set the tone and say, all right, this is how we're going to operate. And when new people join, we're going to make sure that they feel welcome and things like that. And you just want to create a friendly kind of atmosphere within the site. And that way, when people come, they're like, oh, this is great. People are so nice. They're helpful, so on and so forth. And it really worked, because what I saw was we had, people developed real friendships with one another on the site. And it was really great to see, all while we were still getting new people coming in. A big part of during that period of time, I'm sure you can attest to this as well. From that 2004, 2005, 2006, forums were such a great way to build SEO, to optimize, because the organic nature of them, because the questions that people had, oftentimes other people had those questions or similar or the same problems. So it was great for search engine optimization, where people were like searching on Google, or like, all right, I'm having this problem, and then your site comes up. So it was kind of like a nice feedback loop, if you will, from that aspect. And also, obviously, this was the time where like search engine friendly URLs became a thing.
Keyword stuffing. Yeah.
Right. So making that switch to, so they're more keyword based URLs and things like that, also helped drive people to the site. And just making sure that the environment, that when they got there, that it was easy to sign up and get the information and get the help that they need. But B, that once they did do that, then that they felt welcome, and that they had a good feeling about being on the site, that they would hopefully stick around afterwards and maybe help other people.
So currently, do you have a lot of active members that are daily users, just like, a lot of these forums? And monetization, is it more ads, like affiliate because of traffic? Or are you using performance-based affiliates?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for BestTechie, the forums itself, unfortunately, I mean, they're still around, but unfortunately, forums have become less and less popular, I would say. I think because of the advent of social networks.
Yeah.
So they're definitely less used than they once were. They still have people. I mean, we still have people who come in and check in and talk, and people who come post, ask questions, and all that stuff. But it's not nearly the same level that it once was. Most of the work that we do on BestTechie focuses on high quality content, usually in the realm of either how-tos, insights into the industry, podcasts, reviews, things like that tend to be where I spend most of my time, and people on my team spend most of their time creating that kind of content, because that is much more search engine friendly, and that's super important for us, because a lot of our traffic is organic.
Yeah.
Comes either through search or even direct. Social networks don't play as huge a role in our traffic as, let's say, other sites that are more news oriented. Yeah, so we focus heavily on making sure that our content is something that people will search and will be looking for, and also at the same time is optimized for search. So like, especially our reviews and how-to articles and guides.
No, those are amazing. I mean, positioning yourself, right, as a thought leader, right? Especially,
Right.
You probably know all the metrics, right, for SEO. The big thing is understanding why websites rank in the first place and utilizing that so that you can monetize eventually based
Right.
on how much traffic you have.
Right. So sorry, because I just wanted to also get to the monetization, because I know you had asked about that. So we do use a lot. We do a lot of direct ad sales,
Okay.
a lot of native stuff also, and also obviously we use things like Google AdSense,
Yeah.
and we also use things like Taboola.
Yeah.
I'm actually good friends with the founder and CEO of Taboola, and he's been great to me. He's been actually pretty much like a mentor in many ways, especially when I was running Kaya. He's been super helpful, and he would sit down with me and we'd talk and we'd brainstorm, and he'd help me kind of think things through in a way that, you know, someone who has gotten to another level of success in the world of startups, you know, I'm a big fan and believer of, you know, you learn by doing, and by you know, that's really the best way to kind of learn. And you know, it's great to have someone who's been there, kind of done that, who can, you can bounce ideas off and be like, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
You know, is this the right way to be thinking of, even if it's like, is this the right way to be thinking about, even if that person doesn't give you an answer, which is actually sometimes better, you know, because as long as as long as they can help you kind of shape the way you're thinking about it, you typically, you know, most founders, I feel like, will then come to a decision themselves that makes sense for whatever position they're in. But yeah, like so we use different advertising tools like that, and we also do a lot of we also did a lot of affiliate marketing, and we're actually going to be doing more of that in the near future as well.
Gotcha. No, that's amazing. So, a couple questions along your journey, right? So, um, did you go to university or college? What did you study? And during that time, did you continue BestTechie, like, and keep building that audience and forum and engage with those members? Have you ever, and also, have you ever met any of the people that are actually moderators or people that have been loyal users of that platform?
Mm-hmm. Those great questions. So yeah, I went to university. I studied business administration with a focus on concentration in finance, actually.
That's what I studied.
And yeah, so the reason why I decided to do that in the first place was because I felt, having built BestTechie prior to being in college and university, that, you know, I was pretty well versed in a lot of things. Obviously, I always love to learn new things, but like marketing, I felt like wouldn't really be beneficial to me. I felt like I knew a lot of the stuff, and I'd still be taking marketing classes anyway, so I didn't feel like the focus was on that. But what I did know was that I wanted to, at some point, try and raise money and build a business, a startup, you know, uh, raise, you know, angel funding or venture funding. And I thought finance would be a great way to kind of be able to better wrap my head around what I'm doing when I'm doing that. And I think it worked. You know, it was certainly helpful to when you're looking at term sheets and evaluations and things like that, to be able to understand kind of that stuff was certainly helpful. So I did study that, and I did, at the same time while I was in school, you know, to be completely honest, I didn't really want to be in school. I wanted to do something different, but I went to school and I did it, and at the same time, I still worked on BestTechie. You know, same as what I did when I was just in the Harvard program. I was still working on BestTechie while in school. It was a little bit less than full time, but it still allowed me to continue working on the site. So I always find a way to make time to do those kinds of things, not because I feel like, you know, I have to, but because I like to, I want to, and I enjoy just doing those things. So it's great to be able to balance those two. And whenever you're working on two really big things at once, it's always a balancing act, right?
Oh yeah.
You know, you got to be able to kind of prioritize. All right, I have to do this for school, and then I also want to do this for BestTechie, and it's also super important because I told someone I'd do it, or I just want to do it. And so balancing that was always tough, but I'm glad I was able to get it done and do that while in school.
So another question is, I know you've been working on BestTechie. Did you ever have like employment with an actual corporation
Yeah.
or business over the years, or has this only been your one job all your life?
So I did internships while I was in school. I also did work as I was employee number 6 of a startup here in New York City
Okay.
for a while. I've done consulting work for other companies as well. So yes, I've worked for other people and also in other organizations, and uh,
And what?
It's different, right? It's different than working at your own company for sure. Not necessarily in a bad way. Just it's a different kind of experience. You know, sometimes you have to realize that uh, uh, it's not your baby. Like it's sometimes tough to like separate the two, right? When it's not yours and it's someone else's, and you're doing this, to benefit their organization. Obviously, you're hoping that you'll benefit from it as well, but it's still kind of weird.
Yeah, it's different.
I'm not opposed to, I'm not going to say that it wasn't a good thing for me. I think it was great. Opened my eyes up to uh, new ideas, new ways of thinking about things. And that's one of the key things I think as a founder, you need to be super, like focused in on, is that, that you're always willing to learn and open your mind to new ways of thinking about stuff. Because if you get closed minded and you kind of just tunnel vision, through, then you're not growing as a person or as a leader of a company, and it doesn't benefit you at all.
Yeah. So where do you see yourself? Like, obviously, you've been doing BestTechie for 15 plus years, right? Where do you see that company going? And do you think that you're gonna try something new, try something different, continue growing, scaling? What are your thoughts on it?
Yes, I love these questions. I love these questions, John, especially because we are doing a lot of really interesting things. I feel like with BestTechie right now, it's a very interesting time for the company and for me. Um, Mostly because now that I just finished this program, I'm done with school completely now. I'm not going back. I think I'm done with school for now, definitely. But the nice part is it's opened the door now for me to be like, all right, I think this is just the beginning of BestTechie. I know I've been doing this for like 16 years now, but I feel like it's just the beginning. Like it's just like we're kind of like in the rebirth stage. I almost feel like, where there's a lot of different things that we can do, including we're going to be launching some sister sites very shortly, actually, and I'm super excited about those. I think they're going to provide a lot of they're going to help us expand our content verticals, and also at the same time, I think they'll provide a lot of really new, interesting opportunities for us. So that's kind of what I'm focused on right now, is getting the day to day of BestTechie under control. Now that I'm done with school, and being able to focus on just finding a rhythm, which is sometimes the hardest part. Like when you get kicked out of a rhythm, um, when it's to get back into it, to get back into that groove, it takes a little bit of time. So as I mentioned, I finished the program at the end of September, and now it's the end of October, about a month, and I'm feeling pretty good about where I'm at right now. I feel like finally was able to wrap my head around the number of all this email that I had sitting in my inbox that just like, I was like, I don't know when I'm ever going to get to this. So I hired an assistant to help me with that, and she's been great. And finally, we're able to get through that and like figure out, all right, what's next? And what's next is these sister sites.
That was amazing. I,
So
I think
and obviously continuing to work on BestTechie as well.
I think the big thing is you know how to grow a company. You've been doing it for many years, right? It's how can you scale it? How can you
Yeah.
make it unique? How do you make it stand out? And how do you monetize further by offering different services, right? In different niches, or gain traction or generate different audience members from different avenues, right? And utilizing what other tools are out there, right? Like social media could be up to your advantage by creating their own forum sites, right? Or groups, right? Same as LinkedIn. Create that group to actually position you as the expert, and then send some of the traffic to your existing site. So utilizing some of the different platforms that have a ton of audience members going to that site. And yes, organic search is definitely the highest return on investment in terms of like traffic numbers, but there's still opportunity that are quite affordable still too.
Definitely. I mean, one of the things that, and the areas that we're looking to explore more, is utilizing our social presence, um, to help drive more traffic and thought leadership back to BestTechie and also these new sites that will be launching soon. And I really think you're right about that, you know, you often like, so I used, okay, so it's funny because I used to be of the mindset, like, I want to post all my stuff on my site because it's like, it's my site and I want to post it there because I want people to go to it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, and that's a good idea in theory. It sounds good, but realistically, you need to also kind of spread the love around a little bit. And using platforms like LinkedIn to be, to publish on LinkedIn, where there's a massive audience of industry people, within your specific field, who are looking for that kind of content. It's a great way to get your name out there, but also to get people back to your site. People be like, oh, who's this Jeff? That's Jeff guy. He posted this article on LinkedIn. It has a bunch of shares on LinkedIn. People are clicking it. They'll click through to BestTech and they'll see BestTech, and then hopefully, you can convert them through newsletter subscriptions and things like, or just get them to sign up. So yeah, I mean, those are some tactics we use to get people in our loop, in our content loop, where it's like, we have newsletters, we have the podcast you can subscribe to, and we have the forums, obviously, and so these types of things are important to get people hooked and into your content, so that way you can keep them as readers, hopefully.
Yeah, I think the big thing is don't focus just on one medium. Focus on multiple channels, because even traditional advertising might work for some businesses, right? Don't lose focus on just putting all your eggs in one basket, especially if trade shows have worked for you in the past. I mean, this digital space, there's so many different opportunities for you to actually go into, like landing pages, creating funnels, creating even social media funnels, right? Do performance ad networks, go ads, go different ways, right? But people that don't understand the digital space, it's very hard for them to actually get their head around it, that there's so many different opportunities. Even like YouTube videos, right? You can definitely monetize and advertise on that as well. Same as podcasts, you can do product placement. There's so many different ways, right?
Yeah, exactly. I 100% with you on that. I mean, so YouTube was a huge driver of traffic for BestTechie in early 2008, 2009, 2010. It was a huge I think it was our top referral source
traffic
for a long time, because I was creating video content like out the wazoo, like crazy. And a ton of people started coming to the site through YouTube. And I want to get, so a couple of things that you talked about, we talked about kind of expansion in the sister sites, but other things that are on the books for, especially for BestTechie, is more video content, but also, looking into doing different courses and things like that, which we can, cross promote on social platforms. I think LinkedIn would be great. I think there's I have people that I talk with a lot on Twitter. Is a huge platform for media people and also tech people. So it's right in my vertical. So getting engagement there is obviously also super helpful, and yeah. So those I totally agree. Leveraging the various social networks is critically important, but at the same time, I always like to preface when telling people this. Don't overextend yourself, right? Like that's a trap that you can easily fall into, where if you overextend yourself, you're on too many different platforms. What's happening then is you're not doing a good enough job on each platform, because you're spread too thin. You want to be able to invest in a couple of platforms and really invest in them. Yeah.
No, that's amazing. So growing up, did you ever imagine to be your own boss? Like, were there people that inspired you? Were there like your parents, or, did you look up to people? Like, how did you start your business since 13 and you're still doing it? Like,
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I guess my family has been kind of entrepreneurial. So it might be my genes. I've always been a little weird myself.
Well, I mean, but that sets you apart, right? Like being
Right.
different is fine as long as you
Yeah.
find your own tribe and you're able to make it, you know, the most out of it, right?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I mean, like I never, I mean, being that I started, this website when I was so young, I mean, I don't think I necessarily thought out that I was going to be doing this forever. I mean, I don't, not that I thought I was going to be doing it forever or was going to be doing it forever or that I wasn't going to be doing it for, I was kind of just like, I'm in the moment right now. I really like this stuff. I'm super passionate about it. And that's another thing that I think is important. Like if you're not doing something you're passionate about, at some point that fire that you have is going to die out. Like it's just gonna be like, why am I even doing this? I just, and that's why I can't stress enough that the stuff that I'm doing, I really love.
And that's
And like,
amazing.
yeah, so but like I don't know. The answer to answer your question, I don't really know um why, I ended up doing it. It was more like I wanted a way to share information. I thought it would be I remember thinking at the time that it was gonna be a valuable way to share information and that people were probably going to be searching for stuff like this, and like I wanted to help people. So that was my original kind of intent with all of this, and I just to build a place to help people learn about technology. And I wanted also, obviously, as I mentioned, an outlet to be able to do that.
That's amazing.
And just it kind of evolved. I think what's nice because it kind of evolved naturally, and it progressed in a way that over the years, as I got older and I started to realize certain things that I could do, as I would continue to obviously learn about the internet and the web and how to, build different things on it. It just kind of opened my eyes, and I've tried so many different things over the years. Really, like, I have ideas, and then I'm like, all right, so this sounds cool. Maybe it's worth kind of trying out. Not everything I do turns to gold. um, in fact, most things probably don't, and that's just the nature of the beast. But like when you find a couple things that you can do really well, that just feels really good, and 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 it leads to you obviously if you're able to then do it more, that's even better because
I think it sounds like you were onto something at such a young age. Like you kind of found your passion and your purpose in such a young age that at that time, adolescence, there was so many peer pressure, right? There was so much going on in life, and you were able to find an outlet that allowed you to think light years away from what other people were thinking. Like creating networks, like look at Facebook. You kind of create your
yeah.
own on a micro level with people that is your tribe and community, right? And then you engage with them. And this was forward thinking, if I, and this is amazing that you've kind of done that and you've evolved and you learned and you practice and you know, tested it and you're still sticking with it. It's amazing, right? Because,
Yeah, I think so too. I sometimes it's crazy because I think about it, like I sit down and I'm like, and like I'm my own worst critic at
yeah,
the end of the day. And I feel like a lot of founders usually are, and a lot of people just in general are. Um, and the same is obviously true for me. But sometimes when I step back and I'm like, all right, there's this company that just emailed me and they want me to review their product. Like that just didn't fall out of a tree. That's because of years of hard work. like that they put me on their list because they want me to review it so that way it's on my site, right? Like so when you step back and you think about it like that, it's like, wow, that's actually pretty cool.
yeah.
So yeah, I 100% agree with you on that. Like I feel like you just you never know what could happen, and also at the same time, um following to do what you love, I feel like always ends up
Exactly.
working
And
well.
and at that time, I mean, you didn't even know the money aspect of it. You didn't really chase money,
Right.
right? A lot of this is
Yeah.
boils down to like I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, and they're doing things for all the wrong reasons, right? They think there's great opportunity in terms of like monetary, and what does money really buy you, right? And it's true. Like more money means more problems, right? Like really,
Yeah.
why are you doing what you're doing? And if you hate it, what's the purpose? Like, you're never
Right.
gonna put your blood, sweat, and tears in it if you're not even enjoying what you're doing, and you wake up miserable every day wanting to do that, right? Like,
Yeah.
it sounds like you found your calling at such a young age, and you're living proof that you're still doing what you love, right?
Yeah.
It sounds amazing. So some of the changes, like, I know you mentioned you've made a lot of mistakes and a lot of, how did you overcome them? Challenges over the years? Like, can you give some examples?
Sure. So a lot of mistakes in terms of figuring out, like, um, man, oh, I don't even know where to start. So like a lot of the things, I'll give one example with Kaya, the analytics company that I started, right? Um, when I had built, websites and online communities and built BestTechie and, into a media company, I never actually had built a an actual, like, product that people, like, would install on their website and use, right, with the dashboard and everything. Like, that was completely new. I had never actually built a product from the ground up, so that was a whole learning experience in and of itself, which led to a lot of mistakes, figuring out um, how to go about doing it in the first place, who to work with, and that was a huge headache. I hired, some people that I was friends with, that I had known originally, and that was just a nightmare. We getting to an MVP, a minimum viable product, was a very difficult task. But we got something, and then I was able to finally, I don't know, like a couple months into Kaya, able to bring in a CTO and revamp the entire product, that served, the everything that we had so far. But I just remember thinking to myself, why can't we just do this? Why can't we just, like, add these features? Like, I want to add these features. I want to bring on major news sites onto the platform. And my CTO looks at me and goes, if we do that, the entire thing's gonna break. Right? I'm like, are you kidding? Like, so I took his very sage advice, and I was like, all right, let's set a timeline. Let's say, how long do you think it's gonna take for us to fix this, to get it to a point where we can actually scale the product? He's like, a month, 2 months. I was like, are you kidding me? And as a founder, a small company, a startup, and you just want to go, 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 go. You want to get more people onto your platform, on your product, or whatever, as soon as possible, because you want to get usage numbers up, you want to get whatever, subscription revenue, anything to show that that there's need for your product. There's that product with that special word that they use is called product market fit. And I finally, after like a couple hours of just talking to him and, like, trying to figure this all out, and I was like, all right, fine. You know what? Okay, let's slow it down for a little bit. Let's get this stuff working, and then we'll move on to, like, the actual new features that we have planned and things like that. And so that was not necessarily a mistake, but that was more of a mistake that could have happened that I'm glad didn't. Because if I had onboarded people when I wanted to, and if my CTO didn't stop me, it would have been a nightmare. No one would have used the product at all after that. It would have been completely terrible.
Yeah.
So I mean, there are countless instances of like that, especially, where part of it's just learning as you go. And really, like, the only way to do that is to mess up, or almost mess up, and be like, and have someone there to save you from messing from messing up.
Well,
To
it
make
sounds
you
like
think twice about it.
Yeah, it sounds like just surrounding yourself with people that have experience or gone through what you've kind of gone through, or even pick their brain or being there along your side. Because over the years, like that's what I found to be the most beneficial, right? Having
Yeah.
people that actually you can trust, that you can turn to when you're in need, and really they can help you, even if it's like a couple minutes of guidance or refer you to some people that are expert matters in that specific situation, because you are an expert in your own world doing what you do, but you're not an expert at, say, accounting or HR or operations or marketing. And there's so much more involved in running a business, right? Especially in a tech startup, right? Like a SaaS or whatever it may be. If you're looking at funding, you may want to look for startup VC, experts have gone through many funded companies, right? To pick their brain and ask them, what do I need in this situation? What would you do? Can you give me advice? Right.
Yeah.
But that's what I've learned as well over the years. I mean, I know I don't know everything and I probably don't know a lot. Right. So for me, I'm okay with that and I'll make mistakes, but it's okay to ask. And one of the things I've learned is just it's it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to not know everything, right?
Yeah.
And the
I
more
I
you
100% agree.
and the more you realize that, the more successful and the less failures you're gonna have in the long term, right? And at least you have a viable product and people are willing to buy your product, right? Or
Yeah,
service.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you don't, and you, to be honest, you shouldn't be the smartest person in the room, um, right? You, if you are, then well, that's somewhat of a problem. It's actually a pretty big problem because then everyone's going to kind of look to you, um, for the wrong reason. Like, you know what I mean? Whereas, you want to surround yourself with really smart people about who know things that you don't know, or who have differing opinions than you on many things. Because you, as the founder or the leader of the company, it's your job to take what everyone's saying, synthesize it, and then make a decision based on that, right? Um, and in order to be able to do that, you need to have other people around you who are smarter on than you in different things, or just have different opinions. Because if everyone just looks to you to make the decision, then what I found is that not all the options get weighed when they need to be at the beginning. It's like, oh, let's all right, fine, let's do it, and then it's like, oh wait, that possible outcome looks like it's actually happening. The one that we didn't consider. Oh right, okay, so now we have to go and kind of figure out how to solve that because we didn't think of it before.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. So in terms of like, I know you have your own forum, right? Like digital forum. Have you ever done like a lot of the live events or networking events in person, or has it always been more digital online platforms?
So to date, it's been online mostly,
Okay.
through different platforms. But but that being said, I love when communities put together events in person. I think that's great. At some point, I would like to do that at BestTechie. I don't think it's not something that's on my radar right now, but it's something that that's kind of out there that I would like to do at some point for sure.
No,
I find
and
them to be super helpful.
I think if you have a big enough community and people are willing to pay to listen or to get advice from speakers that are thought leaders or people that they respect, right? Industry experts, and they can bring value into it, or they've been following that person for years, right? And that's someone they look up to, and you're all able to be in one room together and inspire one another. I mean, that's always very powerful and impactful, right? Especially meeting in person versus like Zoom or anything digital form, right?
Yeah.
It's just bringing a different dynamic into play. Because like personally, I've been in sales all my life, so I like meeting people in person, and like the social media aspect of being present. I'm not the strongest, I have to admit, but I know it's vital to grow your business. Um, but again, I focus on my strength with it, which is dealing and working with people in person, because that's my strength, right? And everyone has their own strength. So just focus on that, definitely. Um, Another question. So what continues to drive you to do what you do? Like what continues to drive you to work on BestTechie? Um, because it sounds like you've been doing it for so long, right? Like what is your purpose today versus when you first started? Is it very similar? Has it changed over the years?
Overall, I would say the overarching themes are very similar.
Okay.
When I started it, as I mentioned, it was all about creating a place to help other people, to share my thoughts on the space, which was evolving very quickly, still is. Um, and today, those things are definitely encompassed in what the the overall mission is, which is really to build a place where people can come learn about technology, get answers to their questions, and kind of just um, you know have a positive experience with technology. Um, and really that's what we want to do. So like one of the things that we one of the things that Best Techie we used to do was we used to cover a lot of news stories also, and I essentially have cut most of that out, and it just it's just that shift in strategy I think is super important to kind of the future and where we're at right now, which is essentially focusing on what I like to call the how-to guides and the insight analysis and the reviews. um, so really, the mission's the same, to help people understand technology better, but it's just evolved slightly more to be broader. Not, and as you'll see, not just about um, tech and business, but once we launch these new sister sites, it'll be about other types of content as well.
No, that's amazing. And again, pivoting, right? So changing your strategy and knowing what your focus is so critical to success. So aside from business, I know you live in New York, and there's so much to do, right? From sports to nightclubs to restaurants to Central Park and all the Broadway and stuff. What keeps you like grounded? Like what modes you? Like family, health, community? Aside from business, what are some of the other pillars that really keep you grounded?
For me, it's definitely my wife. She's been there for a long journey as well. So we actually met in 2005. So 2 years after I started the website. So
Wow.
she's been around for almost as long as Best Techie. So she's seen it go through various pivots
Yeah.
and just phases, and as well as me. So she gets it, and it's great that she's fully supportive of that as well. Obviously, my cats. I have two cats. One named Zuck after Mark Zuckerberg, and one named Nala after the Lion King. And Zuck is definitely, we didn't get him as a therapy cat, but him and I have a very strong bond. Like we've developed this strong bond, and like he knows when um like I'm like frustrated or upset, and he'll like try and push me away from the computer and make me spend time with him. And like he's I mean it's annoying in the moment, that's for sure, but ultimately he's right. I need to step away. And I think definitely stepping away from work and the computer, just all that stuff, my phone, certainly helps keep me grounded in that aspect too. Like just going to hang out with friends or watching a movie or going to see a show on Broadway, which I love going to see shows on Broadway. It's awesome. If you have never been to a Broadway show, you definitely need to once in your life. It is so worth it, and they're just so fun, so cool. It's unlike anything really you can ever experience elsewhere. But yeah, so just trying. I like playing soccer a lot. I'm a huge soccer fan. Not really of watching it, but more just of playing it. And yeah, I just that's typically how I stay grounded, by doing all those things kind of
Yeah.
um,
Well, you got to live, right? And that's the one thing business owners
Yeah.
have to understand. You can't be in your business all the time, right? And it's really
Yeah, I
good.
made that. That's definitely a mistake. You know, going back to mistakes real quick, that's definitely a mistake I've made in the past. You get so absorbed in everything that you're doing that you
Yeah.
forget that you forget to just live your life and try and enjoy your life.
Why are you
Um,
doing what you're doing ultimately, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
you can't be, unless you're living like you're passionate doing what you're doing, which you just sounds like you are, right? But you can't just keep living in it. You got to take a step back. And good thing you have your cat. But in the mornings for myself, I go to the gym and that's where I reflect. And I'm very appreciative of what goes on and who I interact with and things like that. I take note, and I'm very like fortunate that way that I'm able to. Not a lot of people are able to, right? And we live in a society like North America. We can do whatever we want, and you know, make mistakes, and we have freedom, and you know, we have the abundance of everything, right? So there's no excuses for not to take action and do something with your life. So it sounds
yeah.
like you're definitely on the right track. Lastly, so I wanted to ask you, so how can some of the listeners get a hold of you, reach out to you, connect with you on social, email you, if you
Sure.
share some of that?
So real quick, I just want to say I love that point that you just made, John. I think it's right on the money. One of the things that I had to learn how to do over the years was, aside from taking breaks, was to celebrate the little wins
Yeah.
along the way and kind of reflect on those and be like, you know what? Yeah, what we did was great, actually. We just landed this great client, or we just, we just set a new record for visits. And it's like, but like as the founder, or the company leader, the CEO or whatever, your eyes are always set on the next goal immediately after, right? I'm like, all right, great, we did it. On to the next thing. But you really should celebrate that little win, reflect on it, be like, we worked really hard to get to this point. All right, that's great, feel good, and now we're going to move on to the next thing. In terms of in terms of contacting me, I'm all over. I'm on BestTechy. Obviously, you can reach me at jeff@besttechy.com. I'm also on Twitter at Jeff Weisbein. And those are probably the two best ways to get in touch with me, via email, jeff@besttechy.com, or at Twitter, on Twitter at Jeff Weisbein. Uh, you have a good chance of getting my attention those ways.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot, Jeff. I really had a great time talking to you. Hopefully, you had fun, and great insights, great story. I love your journey. I'm looking forward to knowing what the next 10 years is going to be. Best
Me
Tacky.
too.
Sounds like you're going to be continue doing what you do, and there's definitely an audience, and there's definitely a lot of people that follow you. So it was my pleasure, and definitely we had a lot of fun. And thanks a lot for taking a lot of time out of your busy schedule to be on our show. So thanks a lot, Jeff.
Thanks, John. I really appreciate you having me. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome.